Welcome back to On Second Thought. And I am Brianna Marr with William J. Wagener and Brad Pugh.
Thank you, Brianna.
You're welcome.
We're back with Brad Pugh, a sovereign, not a citizen of the federal government, but a sovereign person under God's law. I really hope you people go Google Alex Jones' Terror Storm, is that little clip you were just watching. You really ought to see the whole thing, and you will see what the big media, ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, Fox News is basically the Nazi government propaganda speaker. Now we're here with Brad Pugh. Brad, did you ever get pulled over by the police and they say, you know what, your license plates don't look in order, or I think you were speeding? What happens?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had been pulled over. First of all, I've been through a few DUI checkpoints with no consequences whatsoever. But one time in particular, I was on my way to a funeral. It was on a Saturday. And I was doing 70 in a 50-mile-an-hour zone and got caught by the radar gun. What can I say? I wasn't paying attention. And this young officer didn't recognize who I was, obviously, but he waved me over. So I pulled over like a good guy, and he comes to the window and wants to see my driver's license, registration, and my proof of insurance. Well, I gave him an international driving permit. I gave him a bill of sale showing that the automobile, not motor vehicle, but the automobile that I was traveling in, not driving in, was owned by a foreign entity and falls under protection of the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act of 1976. And as far as proof of insurance, instead I showed him financial responsibility in the form of a $1 million bond. I also showed him an administrative public sanction of free travel with the seal of the Secretary of State on it. At that point, I had to explain what everything was to this young officer standing there in his great Gazoo helmet with his motorcycle nearby. Now, not wanting to appear stupid, he went back to his motorcycle and did his best to fill out a citation. Understand, the documents that I presented to him do not meet the format of your standard traffic citation, but I'll give him an A for effort. He did the best that he could. He gave me the citation, and I made sure I ascertained his name and his badge number, and I signed it under fear of threat, duress, and coercion under Title 28 U.S. Code 1746, subsection 1, which brings me under international common law, without prejudice or recourse to me. And he asked, "What's all that you're signing?" And I told him I was reserving my rights under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act of 1976, not to worry about it, everything would be okay. I gave him back the citation, he gave me my copy. Within 3 days, I stamped the ticket, I sent it back to him with a certain demand on it. He defaulted, I sent it forward to the court with another demand. Sometime later, I checked on the status of that ticket. Now, understand something. They'll jack the fine up 3 or 4 times thinking that will drive you into their courts, which it never worked for me. I continued to refuse their documents and presentments. It was sometime later I had a buddy who was working a warrant detail, and I called and asked about the citation, and he told me it's nowhere to be found. It has not turned into a warrant, and I was basically as clean as a Safeway chicken. But that has basically been the story with just about everybody who does the program, especially here in California.
And when did you stop paying the IRS? Just stop filing?
Oh goodness, the last time I paid any type of federal income tax was 1997.
And did they send you one of those sweetheart letters and say, "Dear, we missed you, send in some money"?
I got a notice from them about 2 years ago. The thing is, you have to know exactly how to refuse this presentment, and you'd better be able to back up your status. That means you'd better have documented proof of that will serve as prima facie evidence of who you are. I'd served the IRS with papers about my status quite some time before. I sent them back their notice basically, and I never heard from them again.
You never heard from them again?
Yeah. Well, never's a long time. It's only been, what, 2 or 3 years.
I think they wait 4 years before they really come after you. They give you about 4 years, and then they say, you default, you missed it, everything, now we're going to clean you out.
I'll mark it on my calendar. We'll see what happens.
Okay. So do you save a lot of money, Brad, by not paying the IRS your voluntary personal federal income tax?
I suppose I do. Like I say, if you're not using the money to pay for the federal debt that you're not really responsible for, it can go to bigger and better things to help you prosper.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I think all of us, don't you want to prosper, Brianna?
Yes, I really do.
Are you paying attention?
Well, and would I be sitting here if I wasn't?
Well, I'm just curious. I mean, you're not at that threshold yet where you have to worry about a lot of these things.
Thinking about it, I only have 1 more year till I'm an adult, so...
Well, I know you're
getting
getting
close.
really close. Are you going to get the kind of travel documents you did, an international driver permit?
I'm thinking about it because I was thinking of going for my permit recently, so...
In Brianna's case, should she even bother getting a California driver's license? Should she apply right away for a international driving permit? Can she? Can a 17-year-old apply for an international driving permit?
Well, she can apply for one, but until she reaches the age of majority, she is still under her parents' wings and covered by their status. So if they're still in contractual nexus, that's where she's going to be. And again, I would tell people all the time, if you are in contract with Caesar, you render unto Caesar. If you're not in contract with him, then don't render unto him.
What do you make of that scripture, Brad, where the apostles and Jesus are traveling and they get to the toll road guy who's collecting the toll tax, and Jesus says to one of his disciples, go down to the Sea of Galilee and pull a fish out. In the mouth of the fish you will find a coin and will pay the tax.
Okay, I'm familiar with that. Now, what people need to understand is verbal contracts are every bit as binding, especially in the heavenly courts, as a written contract. And when they came to Peter, who basically, if you read the scriptures, had a history of shooting off his big fat mouth when he shouldn't, and he says, doesn't your master pay the temple tax? And he off the cuff said, well, sure he does, just to avoid a conflict. Then he walked back in the house and he was confronted by Jesus Christ for that remark. And what he told Peter was, tell me something, Peter. As far as the taxes, who pays them? Who pays tribute? Is it a conquered people or is it the sons? And he says, well, foreigners, a conquered people. He says, then the sons are exempt. But so we do not offend. In other words, because you shot off your big fat mouth and obligated yourself and me, you go and you catch a fish and you take the money out of the fish's mouth. I want people to notice something. Jesus did not demand that money be taken out of their own treasury, nor were the other disciples obligated by that. Only Peter and Jesus Christ, because that was the nature of that verbal contract.